2 weeks before our wedding, I saw the truth in the cold glow of a security camera. Harper Reed, the woman I was supposed to marry, the woman I'd built my life around. Laughing in a New Orleans hotel elevator, her hands in his hair, his pressed against her back, and that was just night one. People think betrayal is one moment, one mistake, but they don't see the months before the late nights, the new perfume, the excuses that didn't add up. They don't see you sitting at the dinner table, staring at the chair across from you, wondering when you became a stranger in your own life. Harper once gave me a coffee mug that said, "Best future husband." I held it in my hands the morning she left for her bachelorette weekend. By the time she came back, it was sitting in a box with the rest of her things. I didn't scream. I didn't call her names. I didn't even ask why. Because in that moment, I knew the loudest revenge is silence. And if you've ever felt that same fire, the kind that doesn't burn out until the truth is seen, stay with me. What I'm about to tell you is how I disappeared from her life so completely she had to destroy herself just to find me. If stories like this hit home, subscribe. You won't want to miss what comes next. My name is Logan Pierce. I am 34. I run construction projects across Charlotte, North Carolina. It's not glamorous work, but it's honest. I grew up in a family where my father left before I could walk, and my mother worked double shifts just to keep the lights on. That's where I learned that love, real love, isn't flowers or candlelight. It's showing up every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I carried that belief into everything. I built jobs, friendships, relationships. I thought if you gave people your best, they'd give it back. 4 years ago, I met Harper Reed at a neighborhood fundraiser. She was running the silent auction table, laughing with everyone who walked by. Her smile was quick, like she didn't hand it out to just anyone. I liked that. We struck up a conversation over donated wine and paper plates of barbecue. By the end of the night, we'd traded numbers. Within a month, we were inseparable. Harper worked in marketing for a sportswear brand. She had this way of making every plan sound exciting, from a trip to the beach to a grocery run. 8 months ago, I asked her to marry me on the Blue Ridge Parkway, just as the sun slipped behind the mountains. She said yes before I could finish my sentence. She gave me a coffee mug that Christmas. White ceramic black letters, "Best future husband." I kept it on the top shelf in my kitchen. Back then, I thought it was the start of forever. I didn't know it would be the last honest thing she ever gave me. For most of those 4 years, Harper and I fit together like two puzzle pieces. Weekends at the lake, cooking dinner side by side, talking about where we'd raise kids, which streets had the best schools. She loved to plan. Vacations, dinner parties, even what our wedding playlist would sound like. And I loved watching her light up when she talked about the future. But a few months ago, little things started to shift. At first, it was just her staying late at work for marketing events. Then it was new dresses, ones I'd never seen before, appearing in the closet. She said they were networking clothes. She'd come home smelling like perfume that wasn't the one I'd bought her. Different. Sharper. She started spending more nights out with her college friends. The kind of women who still posted shots from crowded bars at 2 a.m. I'd ask how her night was, and she'd say, "You wouldn't understand." One Saturday morning, I made us breakfast. Pancakes, bacon, coffee, the whole thing. She took one look, smiled politely, and said she had a yoga class with the girls. She didn't even touch her plate. That's when I started noticing the way she looked at me. Not like a partner, not like a man she was about to marry, but like I was something she'd outgrown. I told myself it was stress, work, wedding planning, anything but the truth I didn't want to face. One Friday evening, Harper came home with a kind of energy I hadn't seen in weeks. She tossed her bag on the couch, kicked off her heels, and said, "The girls want to do a bachelorette weekend. New Orleans." I froze for a second. We were 3 weeks from our wedding. She hadn't mentioned anything about a trip. She made it sound casual. Vanessa's organizing it. It'll be just 3 nights, we'll dance, eat, relax. But her eyes, they looked like she was already somewhere else. The next morning, I saw her suitcase open on the bed. Inside were dresses I'd never seen, shoes with price tags still on, and lingerie that definitely wasn't for Bourbon Street sightseeing. "New clothes?" I asked. She smiled without looking at me. "Networking clothes," she said again. The morning she left, she was dressed like she was headed to a date, not a flight. Full makeup at 7 a.m., the sharper perfume I'd noticed before. "I'll text you when I land." she said, pecking my cheek before checking her phone again. A few hours later, a message came. Made it safe, miss you already. For a moment, I let myself believe it. But that night, when I called it, went straight to voicemail. Same thing the next morning. I told myself maybe she'd lost her charger. Maybe the music was too loud. Maybe I was just being paranoid. But deep down, I knew. Sunday morning, I was sipping coffee from that best future husband mug when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my cousin Casey. She worked the front desk at the Royal Crescent Hotel in New Orleans. Logan, you need to call me, now. I dialed immediately. Her voice was low, urgent. I didn't want to believe it was her, but I saw her name on the guest list and, Logan, I think you should see something. Within minutes, an email came through. A grainy black and white security clip from the hotel bar. Harper, in one of those new dresses, laughing with a man I'd never seen before. His hand rested on the small of her back. She leaned into him like they'd known each other for years. I watched as they moved toward the elevators. Another camera picked them up inside. Her hands in his hair, his pressed against her back. The doors slid shut. My grip tightened on the phone. Casey's voice broke through the static in my head. That was Friday night, she said. There's more, if you want to see it. I didn't answer right away. The clip kept looping on my screen, every frame heavier than the last. People talk about heartbreak like it's sudden, like it hits you in one blow. But this felt like watching the foundation of a house crack in slow motion. And I knew this was only the beginning. That afternoon, Casey called again. Her voice was hesitant, like she wasn't sure I could handle more. Logan, it wasn't just that one night. Another email came through, this time a series of video files and scanned incident reports. Friday night, Saturday night, both different men, both walking with Harper through the same lobby, both ending up in the same elevator, the same room. One report mentioned noise complaints from the floor. Another noted multiple guests seen entering and leaving room 712. The final clip was the worst. Harper in a black dress I'd never seen before, leaning over a cocktail table with two other women, her college friends, laughing. And then I heard it, clear as if she was in the room with me. Logan's so predictable. He has no idea. That word again. Predictable. Like my loyalty, my commitment, my entire life with her was just something to roll her eyes at. I closed the laptop and sat in silence. 4 years of memories felt like they'd been dropped in acid. Every late night I'd cooked dinner and kept it warm. Every bill I'd quietly covered when she was short on cash. Every plan I'd made for our future. All of it tainted. Casey's voice broke through again. I'm sorry, Logan. I didn't know how bad it was until I saw the reports. I thanked her, but my mind wasn't on gratitude. It was already moving somewhere darker, somewhere quieter, a place where revenge didn't need to be shouted, to be heard. I couldn't stop replaying that word in my head. Predictable. Like all the years I'd given her were a punchline. I thought back to when Harper's company downsized last year. She came home pale shaking, saying she might lose her job. I told her not to worry. I covered rent for 3 months so she could get back on her feet. Never once made her feel small for it. When she wanted to take an expensive design course in Atlanta, I picked up weekend shifts on a renovation site just to cover the tuition. She came back glowing, full of ideas. I thought I'd invested in our future. There were nights she'd call saying her car had broken down on the interstate outside Rock Hill. I'd drop everything no matter the hour drive out and make sure she got home safe. She'd kiss me goodnight, whisper thank you, and I'd believe every word. Even the ring, 2 months of overtime, double shifts in the summer heat. I still remember the way her hands shook when I opened the box. I thought it was joy. Maybe it was. Just not for the reasons I imagined. Sitting there in my kitchen, the best future husband mug next to me, I realized something. I had been showing up for someone who had stopped showing up for me a long time ago. And that kind of truth, once you see it, you can't unsee it. The old me would have driven straight to New Orleans, kicked in the hotel door, demanded answers I already knew I'd hate. But as I sat there staring at the evidence, something shifted. I didn't want her tears. I didn't want her apologies. I didn't even want the truth from her lips. I wanted her silence. So I started making a list. Not an angry list, no smashed dishes, no drunken voicemails. A practical list. First, cancel the venue. I called the historic hall in uptown Charlotte where we'd booked our reception. The manager sighed, said she'd try to refund what she could. Next, the caterer, then the photographer. Each conversation chipped away at the life I've been building, but it also felt lighter. I moved on to the bank accounts, transferred my half into a new account with a new bank, changed the passwords on everything from utilities to the Netflix account she loved. By nightfall, her clothes were folded neatly into boxes. Books, photo frames, that mug she'd given me, it all went into the stack. I didn't slam doors or curse her name. I packed like I was erasing her one detail at a time. By the time Harper's flight landed, her home was no longer here. And when she reached for me, all she'd find was absence. By Monday morning, the plan was no longer just in my head. It was in motion. First stop, the storage unit, a few blocks from my apartment in Charlotte. I rented the largest one they had. Every box with Harper's name on it went inside clothes, books, makeup, even the throw pillows she insisted we needed for the couch. The attendant didn't ask questions. I didn't offer answers. Next, I called my building manager, changed the locks, left a note on the storage unit door, Harper Reed's belongings. Pick up when ready. Then I made a clean sweep of our shared digital life. New email, new phone number, deleted her from my contacts and blocked every profile she had on social media. It wasn't rage, it was deletion. I even took my name off the guest list for her company's holiday gala. It was scheduled for the week after the wedding. I imagined her walking in, expecting to be the center of attention, only to realize I no longer existed in that world. That night I sat alone in my apartment. The place felt bigger, quieter, not empty, free. I knew she'd come looking for me, and I knew the not knowing would hurt her more than anything I could say. By Tuesday, the silence had started to work. My phone lit up with calls from numbers I recognized and numbers I didn't. Voicemails stacked up. The first was Harper. "Hey, it's me. Just got back. Call me, okay?" Her voice was light, almost casual. The second, not so casual. "Logan, what's going on? You're not answering. I'm worried." By the fourth message, she sounded panicked. "I don't know what's happening, but please, just talk to me." I didn't. Then the calls came from mutual friends. Jake from my softball team. "Man, she's freaking out. Did you two fight?" Vanessa from her work circle. "Logan, she's crying at the office. Just tell her you're okay." I told them all the same thing: I'm fine. Nothing more. That afternoon, Harper showed up at my work site in Charlotte. I saw her from the trailer window, perfect hair, perfect makeup, eyes red. She talked to my foreman for a long minute, hands gesturing wildly. He came inside. "There's a woman outside saying she's your fiancée. Says it's an emergency." I didn't even look up from the blueprints. "I don't have a fiancée," I said. When he told her, I watched her face crumble. She stood there for a while staring at the trailer, maybe hoping I'd come out. I didn't move. By the end of that week, I'd stopped checking the old phone. Her calls, her messages, the mutual friends. It was all just background noise now. I'd already started looking forward. Friday morning, I met with a real estate agent in Nashville, Tennessee. A small condo on the east side caught my eye. Nothing fancy, but it had sunlight in the mornings and a balcony that looked out over the river. Perfect for a man living alone. When the agent asked fresh start, I just nodded. I opened a new bank account, filed the paperwork to transfer my contractor's license to Tennessee, and began calling contacts in the construction industry there. Within a week, I had 3 job leads. At night, I started outlining episodes for a podcast, Silent Victories. It would be about boundaries betrayal and the kind of revenge you don't need to announce. The first topic: when someone shows you who they are, believe them. I didn't mention Harper's name. Didn't need to. The story would speak for itself. I wasn't running from her anymore. I was building something without her shadow on it. And as I packed the last of my things into the moving truck, I thought about how silence, real silence, can be the loudest statement you'll ever make. 2 weeks after I'd settled into the condo in Nashville, a message popped up on my new work phone. It was from Jake, one of the few mutual friends I hadn't cut off. "Man, you're not going to believe this. You know that trainer Harper used to post about the guy with the fitness brand?" I remembered. Square jaw, six-pack, every photo screaming, "Look at me." He'd been in one of the hotel clips Casey sent. "What about him?" I typed back. Jake sent a link to a local news article. The headline hit me like a punch and a laugh at the same time. Celebrity trainer dropped by major sponsors after scandal video leaks. Turns out someone had sent footage of him and Harper at the Royal Crescent to one of his brand partners. It spread fast. Fitness forums, gossip sites, even a morning talk show segment. His sponsors bailed overnight. His gym membership numbers tanked. By the end of the week, he'd posted a tearful apology video on Instagram, claiming it was all a misunderstanding. The comments were brutal. I didn't post the clip, didn't even share it, but knowing the truth had started making its way back to her little circle, that was enough. Karma had clocked in, and it was just getting started. Another week passed before the next wave hit. This time it wasn't Jake. It was Casey. She called me late on a Thursday night, her voice buzzing with something between disbelief and satisfaction. "Logan, you need to see what's blowing up on Facebook." She sent me a link to a public post from one of Harper's oldest friends, Megan. The caption read, "Since Harper keeps lying about why Logan left, here's the truth." Underneath were screenshots, dozens of them, the Vegas group chat, the bragging about getting it out of her system before the wedding, photos of her with different men over that weekend, and the kicker, a short video of her in the hotel pool telling some guys she was basically single. The comments were savage. People she had known for years were tagging each other, sharing the post, adding their own stories. By morning, it had spread across Instagram and Twitter. I didn't say a word, didn't like, didn't share, didn't engage, but I could imagine the heat she was feeling, friends pulling away her phone, buzzing with questions she couldn't answer. Casey texted me after she's deleting accounts. "Looks like she's in full damage control." I sat back in my chair looking out over the river from my Nashville balcony. The silence was still doing its work. But now, the truth had a megaphone. I thought the storm had peaked. I was wrong. A few days after Megan's post went viral, a new name popped up in my messages, unknown number. The text read, "This is Allison, Gabriel's wife. We need to talk." Gabriel, Harper's married boss, the one she'd always said understood her career goals. I called her. Allison didn't waste time. Someone sent me the hotel footage and the screenshots. I know everything. Turns out that someone was a mutual acquaintance who'd seen Megan's post and recognized Gabriel in the clips. Allison had already filed for divorce, but she wasn't stopping there. She sent the entire package of videos, messages, even the pool clip to Gabriel's company board of directors. Within 72 hours, he was out. No severance, no reference. 42 years old, reputation in ashes. And Harper, she wasn't spared. Word got back to her former employer in Charlotte. They released a statement distancing themselves from her conduct, making sure the gossip pages had plenty to chew on. By the end of the week, both of them had disappeared from social media entirely. Jobs gone. Marriages gone. Names burned into Google results they couldn't erase. I didn't send the files, didn't push the dominoes, but I had started the silence that let the truth echo loud enough for the right people to hear. 6 months after I walked away, my life didn't just look different, it felt different. The condo in Nashville was no longer just a place I'd moved into, it was home. Mornings started with coffee on the balcony, not staring at my phone, waiting for someone to validate me. Evenings ended with a quiet hum of a city that didn't know my past and didn't care. I'd built my own construction consultancy from the ground up, landed my first big contract, and my podcast, Silent Victories, had passed 50,000 downloads. Men from all over the country wrote in sharing their own stories of betrayal and boundaries, thanking me for saying the things they couldn't. As for Harper, last I heard she was back in her parents' house outside Raleigh. No job, no fiancé, no spotlight, just a name that carried the weight of her choices. And me, I didn't need to see her face again. Didn't need to hear her apology. The best revenge wasn't the fallout she faced. It was the fact that I'd built something better without her. Sometimes justice isn't loud. It's not a slam door or a final screaming match. It's simply walking away, letting the truth do the heavy lifting while you move forward. And in the quiet of my own life, I realized the thing she once called predictable was actually my greatest strength. I always showed up. This time, I just chose to show up for myself. If you've listened this far, you already know silence can be sharper than any confrontation. You don't always need to burn the bridge. Sometimes you just let the other person walk themselves off it. This wasn't about punishing Harper. It was about reclaiming myself. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that you can survive betrayal and come out stronger if you stop trying to win back the person who broke you. I know some of you listening have your own stories. Moments where you bit your tongue, played it cool, and let the truth do the talking. Or maybe you're still in that place staring at evidence you wish you didn't have. Either way, this space is for you. That's why I started Silent Victories. Every week, I share real stories of betrayal boundaries and the kind of revenge that doesn't need a headline. Stories from men who decided their dignity was worth more than someone else's chaos. So if you found a piece of yourself in this story, hit that subscribe button. Not for me, for you. For the next time you need to remember that walking away can be the loudest thing you'll ever do. Because in the end, revenge isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right.